So I'm Zach Goldstein. I'm the founder and CEO of Thanx. We help our merchants identify, engage, and retain their best customers, but more holistically, we build targeted marketing tools. We make those tools easier for both merchants and for consumers alike. And so a lot of what we focus on here day to day is the merchant side. How do we help them find their best customers? How do we help them do something about now that knowledge that they know about them? Today we're going to focus a little bit more on consumers. How can eliminating friction from the consumer experience help increase consumer engagement and ultimately help make disruptive technology, innovative technology? How can we get consumers to do new things that they wouldn't do before? And timing is good because there's been a huge announcement this week. Apple Pay 2 days ago is focused on these exact concepts, right? This announcement was allowing consumers to pay with their phone. Walk into a merchant, use your phone, walk out, you've paid, you haven't gotten your credit card out. But Apple's not the first to go after this market. In fact, there's a lot of companies that have tried. And the reason is because it's $4 trillion annually. It's a gigantic market. And so big companies, Google and PayPal, consortiums of other big companies, MCX, ISIS, smaller startups, Level Up. Lots of people have tried to change the way we pay as consumers. And yet none have really succeeded. We still continue to pay, most of us, with our plastic credit card. Why? Right? The main reason is that paying with your credit card is not that hard. Right? Often paying with cash can be painful, but paying with your credit card is not that hard. And so to convince consumers to do something new, you have to strip out a lot of the friction, a lot of the effort associated with that process. And this is something that other mobile payment companies haven't been able to do before. Apple knows that paying with your credit card is not that hard. And they made a little fun on Tuesday about how difficult it is to search through your wallet and find your card and get it out and your identification. But the core of their presentation hit over and over again on why this is more effortless than anything we've ever seen before. So Apple's identifying these themes. Other successful companies are identifying these themes. But let's look with a lens towards Apple Pay. What makes Apple unique in payments? Well, first off, very easy to sign up. Previous mobile payment options required you to go through a long registration, provide your name, your email, go through the process of linking your cards and saying where you'd like to use them. Sometimes sign up both on your phone and online. This is not what encourages people to adopt a new technology. It has to be really easy. Apple's made it easy. You have two options. It's already on your phone. You link up your card by taking a quick picture of it, or with one click, linking your card that's already in the iTunes store. 10 seconds, done. Perhaps more importantly, it's easy to use. The experience with Apple Pay that they emphasized over and over again is I get my phone, I touch it against a screen, and I walk out. Payment's done. Now previously solutions are get out my phone, try to unlock it, try to find the app, type in a passcode, maybe I have to scan a QR code against something. A lot of steps. It's no wonder consumers don't want to do that. Apple is recognizing that for consumers to change what they do, it needs to be effortless. And the last is that Apple made it easy to trust security. Now this is not something that most consumers are actively thinking about, but it underlies the whole thing. I need to look at the security, trust it, and move on and not worry about it. And Apple does a couple things that are interesting. They keep the relationship between your merchant, where you're making the purchase, you and your bank. They're not injecting themselves in, they're not capturing your data, they're not storing your credit card number. This makes the concern of security alleviated, it makes it easy, right? And so over and over again in this presentation, Apple said payments needs disruption, it's old-fashioned, the mag strip hasn't been innovated on in 50 years, but yet it hasn't happened. We need to make it easier. We need to make it effortless. We need to strip out friction. This is the trend in consumer right now, and this is what lots of different applications, services, providers can look at. We're in a totally different space. It's related, but we have a separate problem. This is what merchants are doing today to market their product. I love this photo because it's really old-fashioned. They're getting out the megaphone and they're screaming out offers to anyone that will listen. A faceless crowd. Please come to my store. Please shop with me. Please come back. And you're hoping that someone out there in that faceless crowd responds. It's not effective, and it hasn't changed in years. So why is it a problem? The primary reason it's a problem is because a small number of your customers drive a massive chunk of your revenue and long-term profits. Identifying those customers is actually the key to success in business. And most of these merchants are unable to do that main thing. Now, they've tried all kinds of ways, and you're familiar with them, right? You have plastic cards in your wallet or purse. You've seen punch cards. You're being asked to check in on your phone. This is all to provide merchants with data so that they can provide you with more targeted marketing. Good for consumers, good for merchants. But this is what it ends up looking like. The desperate need to build closer relationships between merchants and their customers results in some really consumer unfriendly options. Plastic cards are painful. I can't carry that many. Paper cards are even worse. Getting out my phone every time may seem fun for a little while, but it's not long term. It's just not something that's sustainable. These are things consumers simply don't want to do. Mag strips are old. Paper punch cards are even older. They need innovation. And yet it's a gigantic opportunity. The loyalty space, $50 billion in rewards are given out each year, despite the fact that 70% of merchants have no reward program. They can't. They don't have a program in place because it's painful for them. And I can talk more about the merchant experience and pain if there's interest more in the Q&A. We're focused on the consumer piece here. But it's mostly to do with the high cost of integrating with the point of sale and the challenge of keeping your consumers engaged long term. And so this painful consumer experience results in many of the same things we saw in the payment space. Hard to sign up, hard to use it, hard to trust it. And as a result, many of us don't actively engage with loyalty programs today. It's a big need and it's not being solved. So let's look at those same challenges. One, instead of painless enrollment, this is pretty painful. I have to fill out a form. It's often a paper form. I have to give it to the merchant. Sometimes they give me a plastic card. I have to take it home and register it online. No one does that. And it's not surprising. 70% of consumers never complete their registration. They encounter the loyalty program, they see the value, and they just don't finish. Well, it's hard to spend a lot of money on a program to bring you closer to your customers if they're not even going to sign up. Perhaps more problematic is this. Some people are like this, most of us aren't. Having so many programs means that it's easy to forget about them. And having such hassle associated with actually going and using these programs makes them hard to use. No surprise that 60% of consumers who sign up for a traditional loyalty program have churned out within the first 6 months. They've just stopped using it. The analogy I like to use is that loyalty, earning rewards, is kind of like running around a track. There's that big reward at the finish line, and you want to get there as quickly as you can. And yet these stupid plastic cards put hurdles all the way around the track, making it hard for you to get there. You gotta strip out friction if you want consumers to do something to your benefit and to theirs. So how do we do that? Quick overview of what Thanx does. We tie your loyalty program to your credit or debit card. You're already paying with your card. Why have a different plastic card? Why have a different program? Walk into a merchant, pay, earn your rewards for doing the same things you've always done. And in fact, use the same credit card at multiple merchants. On the consumer side, this means no change in behavior. I don't have to get anything else out. I don't have to engage in a different way at the register. And I don't have to go home and look up online what my progress is towards the reward. This is a big challenge because if I'm not aware of what I'm earning, why would I keep doing something? Well, with a plastic card, it doesn't deliver real-time feedback. It can't tell you what's going on. The third, which we won't talk about a lot today, is making it easy for merchants. We are focused on stripping out friction on the merchant side just as we are on the consumer side. How do we make what we call one-click marketing tools? Push a button to identify your churned customers and win them back. If it's not easy, merchants will stay away just like consumers. So we spend a lot of time thinking about that. So we're talking about painless enrollment. I'll come back to some of these questions. Register your credit card, hold it behind your phone. Now I have a credit card linked to Thanx. I can use it interchangeably at merchants. We talked about 70% of consumers don't want to create accounts. And yet, when we look at it, here's a local San Francisco merchant, Mixed Greens. 85% of consumers created an account, including linking their credit card, because they saw the frictionless experience that would come after that. Because running around the track from then on is easy. They had a plastic card loyalty program before, where only 26% of people actually took that card and linked it. This is nearly a 3x increase in engagement just by stripping out those hurdles that I was talking about before. For usage, again, frictionless participation. You have cards, you see rewards. Those rewards can push direct cash back to your credit card. I don't have to print out a coupon or show it on my phone. That cash can be pushed directly back to my credit card. And I get these real-time notifications. You're now 33% towards your next reward. Or you just saved $10 at Pachi's Pizza. Now why does that matter? Because we were talking about 60% of people that churn out of a loyalty program within the first 6 months. Here's our churn over the last 6 months. 2%. Once a consumer becomes active in Thanx and starts using their card, it's actually easier to stay in the program. It may be out of sight, but you are connected constantly. You earn rewards even if you forget briefly about that merchant's participation or you're in a hurry. 2%. And in fact, when we look at how that breaks down, 90% of those just haven't updated their card. It's an expired card. They'll likely get to it and update it in their Thanx account. So if you take the 10% that have actively churned out, we're talking 0.2% of consumers that have stopped earning rewards at Thanx merchants. 0.2 versus 60%. These are massive changes by stripping out the friction that it takes to change consumers' behavior. The final piece that we talked about is effortless security. And this is really an opportunity here to change the way consumers engage with payment-related technology. Apple makes it easy to link your card safely from your mobile device and uses a technology called tokenization to never store your card number. The risk of storing card numbers is obvious. We are all familiar with the Target breach recently. When you have a card number, things can happen that are bad. So Apple said, well, we're not going to keep the card number. Well, what's convenient is that we do the exact same thing. You register your credit card on your device using the camera, just like Apple. And when we get credit cards, they are tokenized. They are not stored on our system. They've never touched our system. There is no risk. And this makes it easy for a consumer to trust using their credit card to earn rewards, because it's backed by the security of Visa, of MasterCard, of Amex, whatever cards they have in their wallet. It has to be this easy to convince consumers to do something new. Easy to sign up, easy to use, easy to trust, whether it's payments or whether it's loyalty.